Archivist, y'all. Exclusively interviewing Sir Mix Alot. Straight out of Washington. The legend. And who is the zagging, Grammy Award winning Sir Mix Alot?
Hey, what's up? It's good. I'm that guy sometime.
And Roosevelt High School, Yesler Way in Central District and the South Side back in 1983. The request lines open with Nasty Nez. Let's hear the start.
Yeah, you know, initially, my family was full of a bunch of music lovers. Like, something we lose sometime in hip hop. We started thinking hip hop's not music, but we were like music lovers. So, pre-hip hop, you know, I was listening to a lot of George Clinton and P-Funk in the house. And my brother was a jazz fan, you know, the Crusaders and Peter Frampton. And, you know, he grew up with Hendrix. So, you know, a lot of that stuff was in the house. And so, music, and my mom listened to a lot of blues, Bobby Blue Bland, and, you know, and all that stuff, and Howlin' Wolf, and all that cat. That's some of that Smokestack Lightning. They call that the Viagra track now. So music was always around me, and I grew up writing a CD in the hood in Seattle, 19th and Yesler, Bryan Manor Apartments. That's where I was, and I came up during busing. And busing was like where they would take, you know, black folks to the white area to go to school, and take white folks to the black area to go to school to try to get us to integrate, which in my opinion was one of the best things they ever did. Some people got mad about it, but it let me know that there was something out there other than just my culture. So all that gumbo created Mix Alot. So I really didn't go into music with these rules. Like, shit had to be kept a certain way for it to be real and all that. And that's kind of where I came from, man. It's just a mess of different types of music, man. And I was seriously into it, though, not just listening to it casually. I would sit there and listen to Parliament songs and study every little nuance, every little twist, every little turn. And then when hip-hop was born, I knew I couldn't sing, so when hip-hop was born, I found something I could do. So that's how it happened, man.
And Nasty Mix.
Yeah.
I just love my beat. I'm a trip to the classic. Posse on Broadway and the record, Some Wild Ass Silly Shit. Swass, were you inspired by the Run DMC, Gucci Crew, and 2 Live? You were a fan of Ice-T.
Oh yeah, how can you not be a fan of, how can I not be inspired by, you know, like 2 Live Crew? But really Run DMC for me, they were the first act to let us know. When I say us, I mean the cats that were underground, or the cats that were coming up, I should say. Run DMC was the group that let us know we could actually make it. We could actually land MTV. And everybody got hungry. So cats like me and Hammer and, you know, LL was already brewing. We just started going at it. We didn't really know what we were doing. We were just going at it. So yeah, I mean, that was really my initial, I was really inspired by funk and stuff, but Run DMC let me know that the game was accessible. And that's what made me, it wasn't about money either. It was just like, I wanted to hear my voice on a record. And that's how Nasty Mix got started, man. It was a dream. My dream was just, I was a DJ. So I just wanted my voice on vinyl.
And Seminar, how did this go? And performing alongside the worldwide Wrecking Crew, touring with NWA, when Too Short blew up, 6 months after, that's a West Coast rap milestone, Wembley Arena.
Let me tell you something. We did like, Posse on Broadway was new. And by the time Posse on Broadway was out, I was already working on Seminar. So, you know, when you do a rap record back in those days, everybody said, you ain't shit, boy. You ain't never done nothing. So you would exaggerate to try to show them you had. So as you can see here, we spent some time in San Francisco, down there on 45th and Powell, buying all this goddamn gold. Man, I had, look at this, gold rings, big donkey ropes. I had all that shit. Like, please say that I'm a legitimate cat now. I was begging for attention. So we did this Greek god thing with the reflections all different. Really some bullshit. But I remember eating some humble pie, man. We did Oakland, California. And we had to play with this dude named Too Short. I'm like, who's Too Short? I'm new to the game. I'm like, who's Too Short? And my nephew who lived on it said, man, y'all can't fuck with Too Short, right? I'm like, man, who is Too Short? Man, that cat hit the stage. I'm like, oh shit. I said, we gotta go home and change our whole show. Because he was just like, he had the crowd riveted, man. And that was one of the most humbling experiences of my life. And we ended up touring with the cat, man. Good people. We did a weird tour with like NWA, Too Short, Stetson Sonic was on some dates. Public Enemy. Let's see, who else was on that shit? There was so many people on there. Hammer was on some dates. Ice-T, who was like one of my heroes, was on some dates, man. It was just like, you could do those kind of tours back in those days, man. It was insane. And that was back when they didn't want to let rappers get venues, right? So Chuck D took it upon himself to do this tour and got all those venues and sold them out. To be a part of that, man, that was awesome. Because, you know, Chuck D's my hero, man.
And Mac Daddy, you did large shouts to EQ, straight out of the Northwest. May Incredible Ease rest in peace.
EQ, it's my guy, man. He used to mess with my boy Quays right here. Rip, real talk. Excuse me for kicking the camera, but real talk, man. These cats had ears, man. I remember I let Quays in my studio one night, and next morning there was an album done. I was like, damn.
And to the double platinum single, Baby Got Back, and working with the legendary Rick Rubin. Classic.
Yeah, so Mac Daddy, this was like when we, you know, back in those days, you keep in mind, this was pre-Twitter, pre-Facebook. On an indie label, there's only so far you could go. We had a platinum record on an indie label, then the second one we did about 750,000, so we passed gold. But we could feel that we were reaching the ceiling. And then Rick Rubin called. And I had a couple problems with Nasty Mix, so I moved on. And man, let me tell you something. Rick Rubin taught me more in 3 months than I learned my whole career. It was bigger than just me doing records. It was bigger than just me making noise on a record that nobody gave a damn about. What was beautiful about Rick is he taught me about image, and the importance of image, the importance of branding. And I always thought that was sellout shit, but it wasn't sellout shit. That's business. And a lot of people need to understand that. And that's where Mix Alot went from just being a rapper to a rapper that was also a businessman. And it was humbling, man. I mean, doing the video we did, Baby Got Back, it was weird to walk in and you're looking at all these people, but coming from Seattle and coming off an indie label, I was so humble. I'm like, what are these people here for? It's like, you. I'm like, really? Damn. I mean, it was that big of a production. It was probably, you know, back then a $200,000 video, which was cheap back then. It was a humbling experience, man. This record here, what was cool about Mac Daddy, it was my biggest record. It was my third record. And as you can see, a Lamborghini on this cover, which means I made some money before Baby Got Back. Some of us don't realize that. See that big old ring? That was pre-Rick Rubin. So what it did though, it made it gave me a different type of fan, right? So you have Mix Alot fans and you have Baby Got Back fans. Baby Got Back fan, they could give a shit less about Posse on Broadway, right? Just show up, give me my butt song, I'll get drunk and I'll go home. Right? Then the Mix Alot fan, they're cool with Baby Got Back, but that's not their track. They want Posse on Broadway, they want My Hoopty, they want Beepers, they want I Got Game, they want Rippin', they want, you know, the vintage Mix Alot. Unlike some artists, I don't shy away from that. I love it. I don't think you should shy away from either fan. Keep both of them. I learned that from Metallica. Keep both of them.
And Seattle versus Tacoma, Washington. The hip-hop haters break down the history on this, and is it still been talked about since it began? It ain't no joke. Us Canadians need to know.
I didn't know there was a beef. I didn't know. This is the first I'm hearing that. I didn't know there was a Seattle versus Tacoma thing. I mean, you know, back in the day, me and High Performance was on the same label. They were out of Tacoma. Criminal Nation. You know, I didn't know. So that's news to me. I'm tripping.
That was from the up-and-comers. Every time I'm around the scene, people
there were some beefs. The only beef I knew about was, you know, fuck Mix Alot. Because, you know, at the time, let's face it, you know, Mix Alot was blowing up, and perception was that I left and went somewhere. But I didn't. I still lived in Seattle. But I had a major label, and the major label kicked in, and what I realized quickly, which was also humbling, is that in this business, they'll give you a label, they'll give you a title, they give you a hat. They go, Mix Alot, Rhyme Cartel Records. Yeah, see this little thing here? That's Rhyme Cartel Records. That looks like big, that ain't shit. And what labels would do is they would give you that stamp so you'd feel like you were somebody important. But then when you come home and try to use that to put new people out, it was worthless, right? So I was a label with no power. So if I were to record somebody and then take it to Rick Rubin or whoever, they still had the right to say this is bullshit. So I had no power to put out what I wanted to put out. So you had that going on back in the 90s where cats were getting labels and labels didn't do shit. It was just like a name, and I was a victim of that. That's why I love the game now, but we'll get on that later.
And Chief Bootnaka in 94. Sleeping with My Funk.
Yeah, this record.
Take My Stash. How was the record? That was a beautiful year for hip-hop culture. Monster Mac and so many bangers. Put them on a glass.
Yeah, goddamn, man. Look at this record, man. This is goddamn. Chief Bootnaka. Putting it mildly, I was feeling myself on this record. Like, way too fucking much. I'm serious. I was like, I'm serious. I ain't even gonna lie about it. I mean, I could lie and say, well, you know, I was trying to expand and look somewhat bullshit. I was really feeling myself. I mean, look at this shit. Look at this cover. I was in a big full-length fur. That wasn't no fake fur. This was some real shit. And just chicks. And you could come to my house in this era, real shit. And there would be like 5 women at the house. Really. I'm not exaggerating, and I have video. But I was like fucked up right here, man. But I like the record, but I was fucked up right here, man. I was talking about stuff. As a matter of fact, on this record, if you listen real close, there's a song called Sweet Brown Sugar. At the start of the record, you will hear me getting head. For real, it's not a joke.
That is for real.
Yeah, at the start of the record, I'm like sitting there. That's how fucked up I was, man. I was really woo.
I never knew that.
Yeah, man. You listen to it, and she was. That was some crazy shit. I was feeling myself right here, man. This is like, you know, rappers go through this thing where you start out, you don't know what the hell you're doing. Second record, you're kind of humble because you kind of fell off a little bit. Third record, Rick Rubin just blew me into the ionosphere. And this record, I was like, the checks came in, you know what I mean? I was like, oh shit. And I was just like, dog, I ain't gonna lie. I wasn't lying though. I said it on record. So I was telling the truth. I guess I kept it real.
And a few things. You can fish in your backyard. I love that.
Yeah.
Tell us more about the HK93 in your collection, the platinum plaques, being on Arsenio Hall, the work speaks for itself, and your own Playboy show.
Wow, man, you did some homework. What the fuck? I forgot about that shit. Damn, yeah. Well, with the house, I was never really a fan of mansions and shit. That's really never been my thing. But I like room. I like acreage, but I could never afford it. Not that I wanted to get out of the hood. I just like, you know, if I wanted to go in the backyard and take a piss, that's what I wanted to do. You know, so I wanted acreage. So I bought this house out in Auburn, Washington, which is like 25 miles southeast of Seattle. And in the backyard, I had no neighbors back then. So in the backyard, I had a pond. And I used to take jugs and put them across, throw them in the pond, and they float. And I had an HK93, boom, 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 just busting holes in them until I had a bunch of plastic all in my pond. I had to take that shit out. It was killing my fish. I had some bass, some brim, some bluegill, you know, some big, I had one largemouth bass my boy Maharaji caught. I don't know how the hell he did that, but, and then the Arsenio thing, that was interesting because we were having a meeting in Beverly Hills with Polygram. Polygram was my publishing company at the time, and Polygram was sitting there. We were eating some bullshit I couldn't pronounce, you know, a bunch of noodles and whatever it was, bean sprouts. And I remember someone from Polygram going, "So Mix, how does it feel to be banned?" And me and Ricardo, my manager Ricardo, we looked at each other like, "Banned? What are you talking about banned?" So, "Oh, you didn't hear about it?" I said, "Yeah, what? MTV pulled your video today." Keep in mind, when Baby Got Back was bumped, now they say it wasn't banned, it was just bumped. But it was banned, that shit was gone, right, for a while. But when MTV bumped it, it was the #1 video. It was the #1 song in the country. And the #1 most requested video at the time. So I was shocked. So then, I remember talking to Rick Rubin and his publicist. Her name was Heidi Robinson. I never will forget, she was awesome. Heidi Robinson said, "This is your blessing, sir." I said, "How is it my blessing?" And she said something that has held true to this day. She said, "If you have a pop hit and it is allowed to run away forever, you become what nobody wants to hear. People get sick of you. But if you have this pop hit and you get too popular and you're saying something that maybe certain powers that be don't want to hear, you become the forbidden fruit. Baby got back and one day became the forbidden fruit. So then Arsenio had me on the day after I had his 50-foot blow-up ass on top of Sunset Tower Records on Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood, and they shot it down with an arrow. Some women's lib chicks shot it down with an arrow, and you know, blah, 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 blah. So when we brought it on Arsenio, we had a Band-Aid on the ass, and we pumped it back up. They were right. I mean, honestly, Rick and those guys were right. When that song was pulled, that gave the song legs that won't stop running, because it was like Elvis swiveling his hips. And that song was, a lot of people when Baby Got Back came out, they went, oh, that's just some pop shit. So, and I let it slide. I didn't say nothing, because it really wasn't. What the song was about was a girl I was dating. I remember we were sitting in a hotel watching a Super Bowl. Buffalo Bills, one of them damn Super Bowls they lost. The Spud McKenzie girls, they had a Budweiser commercials back then, and these little skinny girls shaped like that fork. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? Nobody really likes this, right? And all these black ball players like, yeah, we like that Spud McKenzie girls. Bullshit. So we wrote Baby Got Back in a hotel room. She came in with the oh my God part. I wrote the rest, came home, dropped it, and put it out. So it was kind of cool that people started to understand what I meant and got pissed and banned it. That was a blessing in disguise.
And Return of the Bumpasaurus.
Yeah, now we getting into the shit I like.
Working with Quay's mob style. Back on my horse. You know what I'm saying? A banger on the West Coast sound. Love to hear more about these hits.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite records. Return of the Bumpasaurus. After feeling myself with a big goddamn fur coat, this record was kind of me grounded. And it really wasn't about trying to make a dollar. It was about, I said some shit on this record about major labels while I was on one. If you listen to the start of Return of the Bumpasaurus, you'll hear me actually talking about the industry and what it does to you. And it was somewhat vague, somewhat ambiguous, but anybody with a half a brain knows what I was talking about. This is one of my favorite records, especially the back of this cover. The Return of the Bumpasaurus. Check out that shit right there. There's like lizards and shit coming out of my hand. That's crazy. Yeah, wow, this is a trip. This is actually was a real photo of this girl named Stephanie, and then we just changed her head and gave her a lizard tongue and shit. She was in the Put 'Em on the Glass video. That's her ass too. Lord have mercy. Whew.
And Daddy's Home. How is this one? It's banging. At the next show was Shock G, Studio 47 in San Jose, starring as a DJ in GTA 4, owning your own publishing, 60th anniversary Dick's Burgers, and your music videos you done, Cars, custom built Benz.
Daddy's Home was a fun record to do because I was no longer on a major. So I had I don't give a fuck. I just did what I wanted to do because a lot of times, honestly, and anybody that knows me knows this, I would suppress my skills for records. So cats would be like, Mix ain't got no skills, but I did. But I suppressed them because people wanted to hear a certain thing out of me. On Daddy's Home, especially the track Daddy's Home, I was spitting fire on that motherfucker. And I didn't really care if you wanted me to spit that way or not. So if you wanted me to keep saying, I like big butts, sorry, I've moved on. Not that I don't like doing that, because I'll give you a 10-minute version in a minute. I hate artists that do that, by the way. Don't get me started. But fast forwarding to 2010, I've always been a car fanatic, and not in the fake way. What I mean by the fake way, a lot of these rappers got cars they can't even drive. I saw a dude on TV bought a Ferrari and couldn't pronounce the name of it. I saw a guy that bought a Lamborghini Gallardo, and he called it Gallardo. Lord have mercy. I mean, don't get me started. But anyway, I'm a true car lover, and I'm an enthusiast, not a collector. Fuck a collector. I drive my cars. So I wanted to do a song that was a tribute to exotic car cats, and I realized it wasn't going to be something I could put out on large scale, right? Because everybody can't afford those kind of cars. So what I did, no, we didn't rent a car. We didn't do the LA shit in front and sit on the hood of somebody else's shit. You could not be in that video unless you actually owned the car. So that's why you saw personalized plates and stuff in that video. Those were owned cars. And no No baby, no trust fund babies. These cats earned their scratch. Every single one of them came up from nothing. And they're all my buddies, and we went out and we paid for airplane strip. Other than the Rolls Royce Phantom, we wouldn't let anybody in the video that didn't break 150 on that strip. Man, we had a ball. We had a ball. I had helicopters out there. We had a couple of red cameras so you can do that slow motion thing with the hell. They got this scene where there's two Ferraris. It was a Scuderia and a Challenge Stradale. Yeah, Stradale, not Stradale. You know who you are that said that shit on TV, stupid bastard. Anyway, the Scud, or Scuderia, which is basically a 430 kind of stripped down and light. And then we had a Challenge Stradale, which is the same thing from the for a 360. So this guy walks up, this old man, he goes, with a country accent, I know what he said, you know, them two red cars right there, them Italian cars, I got one of those in the airplane farm. The fuck does that mean? And he opened his garage, I'm like, oh shit! And he pulled this thing, it was like an Italian vintage airplane that was Ferrari red. So we had him do a flyover. We had the cars get up to like 140, he would fly over and we try to, right when they got even, then in the video, you'll see we slowed everything down and it looked like the propeller bent backward. Don't get me, I love doing that video. That's the funnest video I ever did in my life. We had no rules. It cost me a lot of money, which really fucked everybody up because everybody's like, I thought that motherfucker was broke. You know, but that's what happens when you own your publishing, right? You brought that up, didn't you? Yeah. More people need to think about that.
And exotic cars, owning more than 15 to the BMW 850i.
Old school.
Lambos, Ferrari F430, driving a McLaren. Woo. It's car porn.
Yeah, it is. I mean, no, I've had a lot. I've had, you know, you got to remember, see, I'm an old motherfucker, right? So I grew up on, like, Miami Vice, right? So Miami Vice was like, if you watch that, you wanted to be that was before a baller was a word. They was just cold as hell, you know, and I bought, first thing I bought, of course, I bought a Testarossa. That was my first exotic. And I didn't get the white one because I thought that was a little soft for me. Black. And I put it on the back of my I Got Game singles. So I bought I'm going to run through them right quick. So I bought my Testarossa. Then I bought a 348 Spider. I bought another Testarossa. I bought two Lamborghini Diablos. Two 430s, one 360, and a whole bunch of Benzes, a bunch of AMG Benzes, a bunch of BMW 850s, 7s, Porsche Gambala, Porsche Turbo, Porsche America Roadster, Porsche Turbo Cab, man, what else I have? A Ferrari 612, Bentley Turbo R, McLaren MP412C. I can't even remember all this shit I had, man. Golly, I had a lot of cars. Bad investments. You guys buying these cars, take it from me, take it from an old man. Don't write a check and buy the car. Because you're not going to keep it, right? You're going to keep it about 2 or 3 years. Go in there, they give you a lease payment or whatever it is. Write one check, pay all the lease payments, drive the bitch for 3 years and give it back. Trust me. Do not let someone else. Give an example. I bought a Lamborghini Murcielago for, I'm not going to try to show off money, but a lot of money. 50% of the money I took in depreciation. I kept the car 3 years, I got rid of it, and I got that money back. If I had just made that 50% in lease payments and kept that other 50% I spent on the car, I could have used that and made money on it. So those of you who like exotics, don't write a check. And believe me, don't be proud instead of doing, I paid cash. No, really that makes you a stupid motherfucker. Real shit. I did it, and economics 101 should be taught to all rappers. I'll just say that.
And after a 20-year wait for Seattle to make noise again, Key Arena. How has the Macklemore experience been?
You know what, man? I say this, man. People, for some reason, want me to beef with Macklemore. I never have understood that. It's like, for what? Shit, I mean, he got all eyes on Seattle. You don't beef, you better try to capitalize. I did a video with him, White Walls, and I met Ryan Lewis. And let me tell you something, man. The difference between the business then and now, night and day difference. In my era, you know, you didn't realize, but you were brain numb. You were just numb because you were spoiled. Everything was done for you. You showed up and this was ready, that was ready. Those guys grind. And they don't have like a major tit to suck on like I did. And they deserve everything they're getting. Because I'm going to tell you, man, remember I said this to him. Ryan Lewis will be the next Martin Scorsese. Remember I said that. That cat shoots his own video, edits his own videos, writes the scripts, directs them, everything, right? And these cats grinded it out. And I always tell kids now when they ask me, how do you make it? I'm like, don't look at my example. My example doesn't exist anymore. What Macklemore did is what's real. And what he did was he created a brand and he has his own following. And that following gave him power. So when you have 2 million followers who are active, 2 million followers who are engaged. In other words, not 2 million followers who go, you're so sexy, I want to make love to you. And then you say, buy my record. And they're like, no. 2 million followers when you're doing a video at Dick's on Broadway and you tweet, I need a couple thousand people, and 10,000 show up. That's followers. And when labels see that, when sponsors see that, this is how you make money now, y'all. Listen to me. That power that builds your brand. So, what are you going to do when you get that? You can abuse it. You can utter motherfucker, shoot somebody, whoop somebody's ass, go to jail, and mess your image up. Or you can take that brand and leverage that brand. So now you can do what Mac did. You can go to Warner Brothers. You can go to a label and say, look, I need you guys to work my shit to radio. Something a major would be like, what? We want to sign you. I'm going to give you a cut of this record if you work at the radio. They can't say no, because why? You got 200 people on the phone, literally, that you can just say, buy my shit, and they get a cut of that money. That is real power. And what the internet is pure circumvention. It allows artists to circumvent that old system. So the Macklemore show, I did one with him in 2011 when he was just taking off. And I remember he was trying to sell out the next show, and I remember him taking his phone and holding it up in the air, telling everybody, film this shit and tell blank that we're coming. And he kept selling out and kept selling. I'm like, damn, I didn't get it then, but I get it now. Believe that. So doing the thing at Key, it was awesome. Not just playing, but watching him. Just watching the maturity. And with that much fame, all right, man, with that much fame and that much money, he's so humble. That is the part that blew my mind. The cat, he didn't do this. You know what I mean? I mean, he really is business savvy, and on top of it, and he understands his brand. He understands, he never pushes it too far. He knows who he is. That doesn't make you a sellout, it just makes you smart. And he's just being who he is, but he knows what you think he is. And that's something that people need to get straight. When it comes to image and it comes to branding, you can try to, you know, shape how fans feel, but they ultimately define you whether you like it or not. And he gets that.
And shouts to Macklemore and the whole Fresh Coast. All love completely. Don't forget about Mix.
Yeah.
And putting it on with upcoming artists. What can we expect from Rhyme Cartel?
Man, I'm doing all kind of stuff right now. Like Aaron Jones in the Way is like a group that Aaron just walked out of here that I fell in love with. I mean, I was a buddy of mine called me. He said, you got to hear this. You got to hear this. You got to hear this. I'm like, all right, man. So one day I got up with some tavern in the North End, U District. And I walked in and I heard this sound and I'm listening. I'm like, it sounds like some 55, 60-year-old white dudes. I mean that in a good way. I mean, they could play. I was like, damn. And I thought it was like a 6-piece band. I walk in, it was 3 pieces. Bass player, Aaron playing guitar, and a drummer. That was it.
Did you hear him do Georgia?
Man, I heard him do a whole lot of stuff, man. And I'm going to tell you something, man. I was just, what got me was this. It's easy to play in front of 1 million people. It's easy to play in front of a sea of people screaming and hollering. What's hard is this was a Wednesday night with a house that was only quarter full. What did he do? In the middle of his set, he did a guitar solo, got off the stage, walked through the crowd, got a drink at the bar, continued the solo, and walked all the way back up on stage and put his drink down and said, now you guys gonna jump up to the front so we can do this? And everybody, I was like, this cat had it. And when he said he hadn't recorded that full album, I'm like, now you will. So I took him in the studio, tracked it, laid it down, and it's out now. They're getting major traction. We shot a cool video, Feeding from the Devil's Hand, and now I'm trying to hook him up, take him on the road, do some big shit. Also, Out of Sight, who I've been working with for years, we're getting ready to do a new record. I upgraded my whole studio, got it up to Pro Tools 11 now. Doing a lot of stuff outboard again. I was mixing everything in the box, and I started missing something. Like when I did Cars, something didn't sound right musically. I started noticing there was something in the middle that was gone, and staging and stuff seemed off. you could pan things and it just didn't seem to move. So what I did is I ended up buying a few distressors, and I'm ordering the Shadow Hills mastering compressor, some other stuff like that, and start bringing my stuff out of the box, warming it up, and going right back in. And it works. Then I use Ozone 5 to kind of master it, gloss it, paint it up, put the peanut butter on it, and it sounds so much better. So out of sight stuff. Tamika Williams is another girl I'm working with, and Tamika's kind of interesting. Our first record, we didn't really know what the hell we were doing. We just were experimenting. We were doing all kind of sounds. Now we know. We want to do some vintage soul. Like, when I say soul, some people mix up soul and R&B. No offense, but fuck R&B. I think it's gone. There is no more R&B. You got black pop, and then you have soul. And why do I say that? To me, if you write a whole record and all you're talking about doing is making love in the back of a Jeep, that gets old after a while, you know. Let me lick you up and down, let me kiss you, let me love you. Ooh, you make love so good, it's so big on that. Shut up, man. Soul, it had some gravitas, some meat and potatoes, man. And Tamika wants to, she comes from the Baptist church, so she wants to deliver it like that. So we're going to do some Otis Redding-esque, you know, gritty, grimy kind of. And what's interesting is that you have to actually degrade the sound to get that feel. You can't be all glossy and pretty and big because it sounds fake. So you have to use kind of dirt, and you have to kind of intentionally degrade some of that stuff. So compression is going to be used a lot, and some bit reduction is going to be used a lot. It'll be a lot of fun.
And your next album?
My next album, Done Forgot About Mix. It's actually done. I'm trying to figure out a way to release it where it doesn't look desperate, because people have this opinion that when you reach a certain age, you do records because you're hard up for money, which is bullshit. If you're hard up for money, I got news for you. Doing music might not be a good idea, because the majority of people don't make money doing music nowadays. You make money touring, but not doing music. So I'm trying to do it in a way that's organic, that's connected to the people. And I have a few ideas. One of my ideas is I bought a bunch of the Black Magic video stuff. I bought a live switcher, and I bought this thing called a Terra Deck that allows you to record, you know, high def, record to a little, you can take your little SSD, slide it in a car, pop, and then on the opposite side of that, you can also live stream. So you can stream and then edit the content and put it up later. So I got the idea from watching Daryl's house. They're all John Oates. And I said, you know what if I record my studio sessions as I'm putting this record together? What if I let people come in and comment as I'm building songs? And I'll put it out for a week on my website for free. Right? After that, it goes to iTunes. So if you're watching it, come and get it free. I just want to make sure it's organic and connected to the people and not big and glossy, because that shit doesn't work anymore. So the record's done. We'll see what happens.
And the best tour and largest crowd you've ever rocked?
Well, that's two different things. The largest crowd I ever rocked, I remember that like it was yesterday. It was a messed up show. Wembley Arena. Oh my God. It was like Afrika Bambaataa, Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5, Mantronics. No, Dougie Fresh wasn't on that. What's the dude? DJ Cheese. It was so many people. Wrecking Crew was out with us, and I knew nothing about doing shit in Europe. So I got my DMX, I got my 808. I'm ready. I'm about to do some damage. I got my shit. Let's do this. Then I found out they don't have 120 over there. I'm like, how am I supposed to plug my shit in? You can't. And I got to go on stage in 30 minutes. So I'm like, oh no. So I had a cassette. If y'all don't know what cassettes are, look it up on Google. I had a cassette, a thing called a Walkman, Sony Walkman. I took that cassette, that was my rehearsal tape, and it had all my instrumentals, and I literally had to plug the Walkman radio in with a line level jack to a mixing board, and I actually had to play in front of 30,000 people off of Walkman. Woo! I was scared. Off a battery. So that's the biggest. Now the best tour, I would have to say, it was the tour I described earlier, Public Enemy, because it was so diverse. Public Enemy, I got footage of that somewhere. Public Enemy, NWA, Stetsasonic was on some dates, Hammer was on some dates, Ice-T was on some dates, and that was I learned more about the business on that tour, man, than I did all my previous years. I was just like, wow, I saw shows. I realized that I had some work to do.
How many people?
Oh, every night average of 15 to 17,000. And we were all over the place, up and down the East Coast, all through the South, you know, all through Texas. And what Chuck was doing that was smart. Chuck was bringing acts in that were hot in various regions. He was a genius about that. He would, oh, you know, Hammer's hot here. We'll bring him in here. Ice-T's hot there. He was bringing them in, like, it was awesome. That was the shit. Chuck D is a genius, bro. He doesn't get enough credit for it, in my opinion.
And there's anything exclusive you have to say about NWA by touring with them?
All I can say is this, man. I mean, you know, I'm going to get big and lofty here for a second, but to me, there are a lot of large rappers. There are a lot of rappers with skills, but very few rappers can shape an era. I only know maybe 3, maybe 4. Obviously, Run DMC. I mean, they defined that era by basically taking rap from the hood and putting it on MTV. But more importantly, I think culturally, the cultural shift I saw was when NWA and Public Enemy, which is weird because they ran concurrently. And people would say, really? They did? But they did. They ran concurrently. So you had NWA were like reporters from the street, man. And I watched hip hop change. Like, it was incredible. I watched the West Coast change and I watched the East Coast change. I was ashamed to wear big gold chains when listening to Public Enemy. And I had on my medallion and shit. Chuck D took the N-word out of rap for like 3 years. You think about how much power that is to pull that word out of rap for like 3 years. He would never say that, but he did. And like NWA, you know, doing fuck the police and all that shit, people thought it was a joke. And then Rodney King happened. It was like, oh, it almost, they could have jumped up right then and said, told you. You know, I mean, so those two, in my opinion, defined an era more than any other rap artist ever. And the other one would probably be Tupac.
Yeah.
Tupac kind of defined an era. He and Biggie both, actually. I just wish they didn't have a little beef, but they really did define that era.
And your best hip-hop memory you've been part of or contributed to?
Let's see. Ooh, man, that's... God damn, I've done a lot of shit. Best memory. See, this small stuff is what moves me. I gotta think about that for a minute. Damn, best hip-hop.
Janae Ramsey.
Yeah, that was cool. Janae, yeah. Janae Ramsey, she needed a bone marrow transplant. And she was, you know, her mom needed some money to try to get the bone marrow transplant. So we did the concert and raised the money. It was like, that was a good feeling. She didn't make it. She ended up not making it, but we put a lot of money in her pocket that night. I remember that. That was a good thing. And probably the most fun, though, ever was a show I did in, not South Padre, not Pensacola, a place with the white sand, with the club, with the pool in the middle of the dance floor. Panama City.
Panama City. God damn.
First show I ever did in Panama City. It was the day, I didn't know it because we were on tour. I didn't know it was the day Baby got back with #1. But I had no idea. And I got this on video, so in case motherfucker think I'm lying. I remember getting out of the bus, and we got off the bus, and I was like looking at this, like, what are all these people? Like, there was a hotel next door, and it was every patio, like 20 floors of people just packed. And there's another hotel that were packed on the deck, and people on the beach. I'm like, what the hell's going on? You know, I mean, I knew the club was going to be packed, but I was trying to figure out what the hell's going on. I didn't have and I remember walking with my camera, and the dude that owned the club said, ladies and gentlemen, guess what we have tonight? The guy who went #1 today. And you hear me go, man, shut the fuck up. Because I was behind, like, Mariah Carey, right? She had that I'll Be There track. I'm like, oh, we ain't going to take Mariah out, but we did. And went #1 on that day, and that was the most intense show I ever had. I mean, that was incredible.
And you got anything to say to Canada?
Man, Canada. Take me where some good soul food is first. Because I had some bad soul food in Vancouver.
We sure did.
Man, that dude said, oh, I'm from Louisiana. I'm like, bullshit. You're from Louisiana, they put a gun on you and threw you out because that was not good. Other than that, though,
No seasoning.
Canada is so beautiful. God, Canada make you feel guilty for throwing gum out the window. You know, that kind of stuff, man. It's so clean. And I remember we went up to Canada one year. My boy right here, Rush, I remember this is back before weed was legal in Seattle. Man, it was just this is a promoter now. He just dropped weed on the table, poof. You know, I was like, damn. Yeah, quarter pound, just drop it. Here you go. This should keep you busy for a while. No, Canada's a pretty interesting place, man. I heard a lot of Bryan Adams records.
Yeah.
I was like, why are people playing Bryan Adams? And I heard, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I heard a rumor that in Canada, for every X amount of minutes a radio is on, they have to play X amount of Canadian songs.
Yeah, 35%.
35%, yeah. Okay, so that's true, yeah. That's why I heard so much Bryan Adams. I'm like, you go from him a rap record to Bryan Adams. I'm like, did I miss something here? But I love Canada, man. It's so clean. Damn. My girl wants to go bad, so we probably gonna go up to like Victoria or something like that.
And you got anything to say to our legendary interview?
A good interview, man. I mean, it was cool because you did some research.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't get the typical bullshit. How'd you get started? And do you really like big butts? And so what was it like when you did the Posse on Broadway video? Did you have fun? I'm like, oh my God, man. So, you know, what I like about, and I've watched some of your other interviews. I've watched the Rakim interview, which I really love, is that you force an artist to either show they have substance or die. And I like that. That's how you should do it. And because most artists, they come from somewhere. If they're uncomfortable talking about it, then they should find something else to do. What you do, you pull out that reel, and I'm not uncomfortable with it. It's fine with me.
And you got any shouts?
I'm gonna give a shout out to her because man, this chick is just beautiful. God damn. I've been like trying to play it off, act like I'm thinking like, yeah. Whew, damn. Yeah, you know, my thing is, unlike some, I don't give shout outs to a bunch of rappers, and I don't have features all over my record. I believe in talking to my fans. So my thing is, I give a shout out to people who actually hook up with me on Twitter at The Real Mix, and I'm not plugging my Twitter because I talk to you. I don't sell you shit, and they know that. So we talk about the Seahawks, we talk about all kind of shit. We talk about food, and I love them. My boy Rush is the one that got me kind of going on this social media thing. So they're like my friends. It's real talk. I mean, I interact, so I don't have no ghostwriter either. It's like, that ghostwriter. You sitting around telling somebody what to do. Man, what kind of phony shit is that? So yeah, really just love to my fans, especially the ones who stuck with me, the ones who truly know me. And when I say I love them, I mean that. I mean, a lot of cats say that, but they just want their money. No, it's not that. I view fans, you're my employer. And, you know, when I show up to a town, I don't do 15 minutes and get off stage just because I can get away with it. You know, I don't lip sync over the top of my own words or whatever the fuck cats do now. You know, yeah, I give it up because you are my employers, and that's the way rappers have to look at it now. You know, fans, there ain't no record label, so you either understand that they're your employers or get out of the game. Because you answering to a record label, you got it all backwards. I answer to them right there.
And shouts to Sir Mix Alot and the homie Grinch and the Wild Buffalo out in Bellingham, Washington. And this is the Archivist, and you already know the name, y'all.
And I got some brisket waiting on me. And who is this girl with, man? I'm saying, man, you guys have no. She's like a queen. Like she should be in Mortal Kombat, like one of the queens that come out and whoop everybody's ass. She's just fine. Damn. It's obscene.